Hey, yo, you ready? Let's do it. Yeah.
Do you remember Mr. Bell's French class?
Mr. Bell, yeah.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
J'ai perdu mon stylo, that's all I know.
Yeah. To be fair, I remember more of the German classes, to be honest.
They were good as well.
Frau Vernon were.
Frau Vernon. Fair play, mate.
I always laugh at when, and it was when Ross got kicked out, and you should remember this, and he got kicked out, he was in the corridor, and always going, Frau.
Yeah.
Frau. It was just echoing along, and he did it, I don't know how long for, a couple of minutes, until she just lost her head, went out, started yelling at him.
That's why we're not good at languages, mate. We messed it up at school.
It's just the fact that he was just going, Frau. That is it.
Absolute wind up.
Nothing else.
Wind up. But yeah, Luke is learning French, mate.
Yeah.
By the way, this guy, mate, he's done a lot in not a very long time, I'd say.
Well, if you look at the 4 years or the 6 years since it's all started going on, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And the progress and the obviously he's always been a great athlete, but the levels he's taking it to now, he's getting there, isn't it? Top tier athlete now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable, like GB athlete with what he's doing. Yeah, absolute machine. But they're interesting because you look at those things where actually, what do they say? Like difficult times can make you into a stronger person. What doesn't kill you make you stronger, all that sort of thing. You know, he's kind of a bit of a story of that, isn't he? Really.
Yeah, and like on the extreme side of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I said, the story's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And the tandem bit as well, I forgot to say. Do you remember in COVID, Steve Ganner and his missus Kath, they used to go around a tandem round Bamber Bridge, and people used to clap every Thursday night at 8 o'clock. They used to ride around the block in the tandem, so it just reminded me of that.
And they got the clap. Yeah, they took the clap from the NHS. So.
Absolutely, pretty much was. So they weren't clapping the nurse anymore. They were clapping Steve and Kath and going around with tandem on.
Brilliant.
But I think it was like some NHS in like a big banner as well. I've got a picture of it.
Fantastic. So the life in tandem video is about Luke's decision that when he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, he decided to cycle from Bristol to Beijing. And it is epic, mate. It's epic. We talk about it obviously with him on here, but if you do get the opportunity to just search it on YouTube, it's a brilliant film, mate. It's really good.
And subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe.
And to ours as well.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. We're rocking the YouTube now, aren't we, mate? We've got a few out there.
We're getting there.
How you feeling about the 100, mate? Just laughing. That's the response now. It's this month. We're in July, mate.
It's this month, yeah. It's not that long. I've been so I can run. This is what I'm doing. I'm running every 3 days now. Okay. So it's pretty much do 4 mile, let the Achilles recover, and then give it another day after that and go again. And then I think closer to it, if it's recovering, do two runs, one every other day.
I like it.
Which I should have done that 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Said it was diving back into an ultra and a marathon.
You live and learn, don't you? Live and learn.
It's a bit late now for learning, though, isn't it? So
just implement it for next time. Is CCC 100? Well, UTMB. You're doing 100, mate, in this month. So is it something that's interested you at any point doing UTMB?
No, and I think the only thing that's interested me is Western States in the sense of it's California. Purely because I was at camp in California, that is the only reason, and I kind of love if I could get a ticket for that, which is very unlikely. I know Dave Brunton did, but you've got to finish 100 mile to have one entry.
Yeah.
I think it'd be unbelievable, and it's pretty much because I live around that area in the sense of running through those sort of foresty areas. Like it'd probably just take me back, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, nice.
But no, not at the moment. But I next year, and saying what you've done this year, exploring those different races. I think
that's it.
There's so much more out there.
Well, unpacking Luke's races, mate. When we were looking before at his UTMB, it's outrageous. He's obviously ranked top 1% in the world, which is insane. The amount of people that have got a UTMB ranking, it's an outrageous stat.
If you look at the countries of where the races are, yeah.
So he's absolutely smashing that. But there's that many places you can go. It's kind of like having that decision to say, well, I'm going to try something a little bit different. Maybe step out of the comfort zone a little bit and just try something different.
And for the money we spent on, say, racing the lakes, you can still go and do these races abroad, and pretty much depends how you want to do them, but you can still do them at a similar cost.
Yeah,
you can do.
Span Sprint was 160 quid, which I'm okay with.
To be
still
fair,
a lot,
you're
but
paying 40 quid for a 10k nowadays.
Exactly.
In Heaton Park, so why the hell not?
Exactly, they're all insane, aren't they? Anyway, this guy's story is something else. I think stay tuned, enjoy.
Yep. One thing is, Luke isn't coming home, but football is.
Yeah, let's have it.
We've just beat DR Congo.
Dr. Congo.
This is where we're at.
In a bit.
See you later.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for
Whereabouts are you based, Luke?
So I'm actually out in France right now, near Chamonix, Argentière, if you guys know it.
No, but where was it?
Argentière, it's just up the valley from Chamonix.
Oh, nice.
In France?
Yeah,
Good
lovely.
man. Good man.
Lovely. I was in Chamonix last year, just on a trip. We went to Geneva, but we ended up going to Chamonix just for a day. And oh, what a place! Absolutely loved it. Beautiful place. And
Yeah, it's super beautiful.
you've had a few experiences over there that way, anyway, haven't you, in the past few years? So,
Yeah, this man knows, doesn't he? Like, if there's one person that knows it.
and are you trying to learn French?
Yeah. No, I am learning a bit of French, and my housemates, most of them are French, so that helps. But they speak such good English that it's easier for us to speak English, which is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But they have to be very patient when I start talking French, and they're having to put up with a lot with that. So.
Have you got to sort of tell them, look, no, let's go back to French because it is too easy, innit, when you're trying to learn something like that?
Yeah, exactly. No, but they're very good, and it's nice.
Fantastic. Right, well, we won't keep you that long, Luke. Thank you very much again for putting up with us and rearranging times that we've had to do.
Especially now I know you're away as well. I feel guilty now.
Feel good. That's fine. It's nice to be able to have a chat, and it's always good to actually get to the point where we're all in the same, at least virtual room, and get to have a bit of a chinwag. So this is the fun bit.
Definitely, yeah. It does help. It does help. So I guess if you can start by telling us a bit like why are you currently in Chamonix? What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm living out in Argentière right now. That's kind of been a bit of a plan last year, or from last year, because I was trying to live and train out in Chamonix last year, but then because of Brexit and like the 90-day rule, that was like just obviously you can't live out in France just as a tourist. And so I made it my mission at the beginning of this year to try and get like a French visa, and I got like a long-term French visa now. So I am based out in France for the foreseeable future, which is really awesome, and it's a bit of a game changer.
Absolutely fine. Is that focus of moving out there around because that's where the best running is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kind of was having a lot of self-reflection at the beginning of this year because I wasn't super pleased with how my season went last year, and I was thinking, what changes do I need to make? How do I improve? The sport of trail running is only going in one direction, and that's faster, more competitive, more top runners. And I was thinking, well, what do I need to do to hopefully not just keep pace, but try and get myself a little bit ahead of the curve? And I thought, coming out to France, where there are some fantastic mountains and also some fantastic runners, so I'm not just like training in the mountains, but I'm also like training with people who are stretching me like every day to do what I can to improve, really.
Absolutely. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Pretty epic, isn't it? You could just move out to France and go, do you know what, I'm going for this. Where have you originally been training? Where have you been living before France?
So I've been pretty nomadic for like the last 5 or 6 years, since 2020. From 2020 to 2022, I was doing like a big cycle ride on a tandem from the UK to China. And then after that, I was kind of really floating about between a lot of different places, sort of 2 or 3 months here and there. I spent a lot of time in the end in Kazakhstan, in Almaty. I spent some time in China. I also spent some time in Hastings. I'm from Bristol, so I did spend quite a bit of time in Bristol. And then also spent a bit of time out in Europe. So it was really like living out of a suitcase for like 2 or 3 or 4 years, which is very fun in a lot of ways. But I think there are some challenges to that as well.
Yeah, and I think considering the movement you've made there, the running that you've done so far, I think you've done incredibly well. But I think the right thing now that you've done is if you can settle there and start training there properly, surely your running's going to get better and better and better. Like say, you're in a settled place now. Whether it'll work out the best, time will tell, won't it? But realistically, you are in the right place for it now, aren't you?
I think that was part of the mentality of trying to be in one of the places that's really well suited to trail running, but then also having a place where I can have like a routine and consistency, and getting those gains like from not sleeping in a ton of different beds, and like you're constantly like trying to restart the routine and find a place where you can do one type of session or another, or get a good night's sleep. All of these like little factors that ultimately add up, I think, when you're trying to pursue performance.
Yeah, it's obviously you take it very, very seriously now. So I guess just for listeners' benefit, so you briefly mentioned the tandem cycle, by the way, which was an awesome experience, and some film that. But dial us back a little bit to when you actually first, I guess, started taking running seriously. And obviously, what happened before that made you go on that tandem cycle? Just take us back to early experience, Luke.
Yeah, well, I guess like I never ever expected to be like a professional athlete. That was never on the cards. I would say that I have been kind of active and running from quite a young age, but like very mediocre for many years. I as a family we orienteered. We were like that cool family that went orienteering, and when you go back to school on a Monday morning and everyone's like, what did you do at your weekend? And I was like, we went orienteering, and everyone was like, what is that? Everyone else has done like football, obviously. And then you like try and explain, and you say, well, it's a compass and there's a map, and it gets worse, So I had 0 cool points at school. But I grew up orienteering a bit, and then got into some cross-country running when I was at school. Did a bit of road running, like 5 and 10Ks. But again, was still not really. I was quite good, but like I had friends who were getting like England vests or GB vests, and I was like nowhere near in their league. So I always just, I very much consider myself like quite an average runner, like as a club runner, just quite an average one. So I kind of then took a detour into triathlon in my late teens, because I found that if you could do a slightly longer event and you can combine the running and the cycling and a bit of swimming, I found like I was getting a bit more success there, and that's what I did at university. And after university, I did my very first ultra when I was out in Russia. I was teaching in Siberia. We can go into different avenues. But the long story short, as you guys might know, is then when I was out in Russia, I also basically got a diagnosis of some pretty serious cancer. Thought I was going to die, had a lot of treatment, still thought I was going to die. And then I thought, well, the final thing I want to do is cycle around the world. And that's what I did. I cycled from the UK to China on a tandem, and I'm still alive. So I've, run out of ideas of other things to do. So I've gone back to default option, which is running.
Yeah, it's an incredible story. And I guess if anybody gets a chance, it's called A Life in Tandem, is it not? The film that's on your YouTube channel. So I watched that. If you can get away with the reduced adverts, you're laughing, aren't you? Because I think you need some more. How do you get rid of the adverts?
Yeah, so it's really screwed up. So I've spent about 6 years with the director Mike Rumsey of my life, like making this film A Life in Tandem, putting like a lot of my own money into it as well, and raising other money, and we did crowdfunding, and now it's on YouTube, and it's a fantastic, it's an award-winning documentary. But because it's on YouTube and I have less than 1,000 subscribers, YouTube just splashed their adverts like all over it every 10 minutes or something. And until I pass 1,000 subscribers, and I'm on about 880 right now, I can't take those adverts away, and it's like infuriating, and it feels like really wrong that there's a multi-billion or trillion-dollar company that's making money off of this. And it's not about making money. I just want people to watch the film or be able to. So give Luke G. Shaw a subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, that's the mad thing, isn't it? Because you're trying to share this film, whereas like usually these are behind a paywall, aren't they? Somewhere like you have to pay to watch these movies, which you know is fine because there's a lot of money goes into production. But then like YouTube will there'll be like a really emotional scene or something coming up, and then YouTube just chucks like an advert in there. Doesn't it? It's infuriating me trying to, I guess for you as well, like trying to get it out there.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I think, you know, it's a really powerful film. It's a very honest film. It's very raw. Like, and it's also, you know, there are parts of it which are very funny and very inspiring. But like, it's a film that you don't want broken up because it really takes you on that whole journey.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's particularly galling for like YouTube to do this. And like, and as soon as I can take the adverts away, I will. And I think that will be a great blessing. So.
Smash some subscribers from here.
Yeah, so that's the aim. So so is it literally once you've got 1,000, you can knock them away?
Basically, when you've got 1,000 subscribers, then you are part of like the YouTube partnership program, which is their way of putting up a wall against people just taking control of their content at a low level. And yeah, so once past 1,000, I should be able to just take back control.
Yes.
Yeah, ridiculous, isn't it? Ridiculous.
I like
but it. The film is absolutely class. I really enjoyed it. The story is unbelievable as well. So I obviously Carl, I don't know if you're aware, but Carl had cancer when 17, weren't you, at the time?
Yeah.
So
yeah, a while ago now, like, but yeah.
I think he's just like
5 years ago now.
Get out of here. Look at the hair. To be fair, it did come back brown. It lasted about 3 years, I think, and then it started turning grey.
Brilliant.
Maybe 4 years, and then it started turning grey until I started using Just for Men for about 3 years.
That was a good look.
It wasn't. It was like it was described as medium brown. It was black, but at the time you kind of don't realise it until you look back at pictures and think, "What the hell was he thinking?" But it happens, doesn't it? But on the cancer side of things, I was going to speak to you about this. What sort of cancer was it, and how was you diagnosed with? What were the symptoms? It's more just to highlight what it is, and if people are having similar symptoms, what they can look out for, and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I ended up getting a very rare type of sarcoma, which is like a soft tissue cancer. So basically, for me, what happened is, for some reason, beneath my left shoulder blade, the tumour started growing. And basically, it just grew and grew and grew beneath my left shoulder blade. And obviously, I just didn't really notice it because it was on my back, and I wasn't like paying much attention. And like the symptoms were like super subtle to begin with. I just had a bit of an aching shoulder, and then it was kind of like the frog in the water that just gets hotter and hotter, right, until you kind of boil the frog alive. Of like, there were these really small incremental changes, and I just kept on making, you know, small changes to how I lived. So like it got to the point where I couldn't really lean back on a chair because it was like so uncomfortable, because basically my shoulder blade was pressing on the tumor that was pressing on my rib cage. But I didn't realize that, you know, I was 24, wasn't really thinking about this. I was just like, oh, my shoulder's a bit uncomfortable, I'll just lean forwards. And then I'd like look at it in the mirror and I'd be like, but if I kind of like pull my shoulder blades together, then it looks normal again. So it's probably normal, isn't it? But yeah, I think the moral of the story is, if something is even a little bit abnormal, do get it checked out by a doctor, and like don't hang around for 6 months, which is basically what I did.
But the thing is, you're not expecting it, are you? In terms of like say, if you've got a bit of a pain in your shoulder, you've got a bit of a pain in your shoulder. The last thing you start thinking is it's cancer, and it's pretty bad. We always laugh about when I had mine. I always blame mine on a video game because I leant on that side playing on it. I end up with a lump here, and it's similar to what you've said there. You just kind of put it onto other things, thinking it's something else, and you just adapt to it and talk about anything else rather than the lump that's there or an issue you've had, sort of thing. It's mad how the mind works.
Yeah, like I did see a physio like relatively early on, and they said that, it looks like a winged scapula, which, to be fair, it probably did at that point. Basically, you know, because the tumour was actually pushing my left shoulder blade off my back a bit, it kind of looked like the muscles were weak. So anyway, the physio told me this, and then I thought, and then she gave me some like exercises to do with a band, and I was like cracking. I've got my exercises. I'm just gonna smash some exercises out. And as it got more and more sore and uncomfortable, I'd just do more exercises, and I'd be like, why isn't it working? Because we're all runners. We like to train. If the way that you improve or kind of get over niggles is to sort of rehab them, and so you just kind of, if it's not working, you do more rehab, and that was my approach. And as you say, you don't really twig it that it could be something very different.
Yeah, you kind of can't rehab cancer, can you? It's not something you can go through. But like I say, they've diagnosed it off that, thinking what it is originally, haven't they? Which you can't fault them for that with it. But what was the moment you knew? Was there a certain point that you kind of knew and you went in for testing? Like, was it because it got more painful? Was there a certain moment that you kind of remember thinking something isn't right here now?
Yeah, I remember I did some sprints on the bike with the local cycle club, and I came back, and like that day or the day after, I'd noticed that in my left armpit there was then like a bump.
Right.
That was like not been there before, and I was like, no, this is really weird. And that's when I went to see the doctor, and this was in Russia, and I was just like, look, I think I'm being a bit silly here, but like, can you just check this out? And she said, like, okay, like, take off your top, turn around, let's have a look at your back. And then she just said, like, Bоже mой, like, oh my God. And then I was like, oh, this is now something serious. And that was the moment, like, everything changed, and I was like, oh wait, this is really something. And then you start to piece it together, and you're like, wait, I've got, my shoulder looks really like distorted and misshapen, like, what could it possibly be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably it is actually cancer. So that all happens very quickly.
Especially when you're in Russia as well, it's like say you're still running, you're in Russia, things are, I'm not saying not normal, but you're not just kind of just in a house going back to your same routine every day, or you're out there venturing and doing whatever. So, but it was there all along, weren't it? Like the symptoms you've said there and everything else, it was kind of there, but you were just unaware of it, weren't you? And you're still young, so you don't really think of it when you're younger as well, do you? It's not the same as, obviously you think of it now, but previously, you don't cross your mind.
No, it doesn't. And I was 24 years old, and I think 3 weeks before that, I did my first ultra, which was like 50k.
Training for it.
It was in the Ural Mountains, and I remember I ran with this guy, Yevgeny, and turned out as we were chatting as we ran for the first couple of hours, and he was like, he'd run for the Russian national team, had done a 63-minute half marathon, and he ended up like out sprinting me, and he won and I came second. So I was like, I was in really good shape. I was really fit. I was strong. So like, it is the last thing that would cross your mind that you could have cancer and also like be able to run as well as I was running. Like it just doesn't compute, does it? It doesn't make sense. It's the last thing you'd think.
Yeah, it's absolutely mental, and I guess from that, like you said, it's such a blur because in obviously the film, your reaction is to obviously go and do something with your life that you want to absolutely, I don't know, have like a big adventure, and that mindset is probably different to how other people react. Obviously, I've never suffered or know many people that have, but like, how do you sort of, what was your mindset? Was it immediately to go to, right, I can go and do this now, or was it a bit of a roller coaster?
I mean, it's of course like a huge roller coaster, and like when it got confirmed that it wasn't just cancer, but it was basically like an incurable cancer, and I had it had spread to my lungs, and there were like over 10 lung metastases, and it just like isn't that cancer typically doesn't respond very well to like chemotherapy. Basically I was like, they were like, you're fucked. Like that was kind of the long story short of it all.
Diagnosis.
And so when you're kind of given that news,
yeah,
you're like, I'm 24, I actually kind of want to do a lot more living, and to be told you're basically going to die relatively soon is pretty much the worst news you can hear. And it's incredibly grim. They initially diagnosed it as something else, and the timescale for that was about 2 years, and then it turned out it was something even more serious, and at that point I didn't ask them like how much less time that meant. But yeah, it's, as I say, like typically like the chemotherapy would buy you a bit of time, I guess.
It's a mad story. It's the fact that how fit you were when you had so many kind of underlying issues that you didn't know about. Like say with stuff going on in your lungs, like, and you're still sprinting around and doing all this stuff. And to be fair, that's probably benefited you massively when it comes to the treatment and the recovery and going through it all. Because obviously they say the fitter you are, it helps, doesn't it?
But what was it like for you, Carl? Like what when you were diagnosed? What was going through your mind? How did it?
Well, I'm only 17, so on my side it was probably a bit young to kind of register what was properly going on in the sense of. But mine was always staged. Mine was like 2A. So mine was pretty much a good diagnosis from the start. So they basically said a few blocks of chemotherapy, a bit of radiotherapy should be done, which it was. So it was like I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is like I always say one of the best cancers to have. It is in terms of treatment and the success rate. So in the sense of that, obviously it was quite scary hearing you got cancer and everything else. But because I was that young, it didn't really sink in the terms of what it was. For me, it was kind of, I'm not saying a holiday, but you was off work, you could kind of World Cup run, I could watch World Cup for 2 months straight, it was all those little things that you just kind of like, oh, he's fine with it. But like yours, or I was kind of told to not do anything, rest, recover, and kind of do it that way. But when I first came back to play football with you after it, I could hardly, I couldn't run. I was like, took a few steps, fall over, That's because I did nothing, where you've done the complete opposite to what I did. You've done the complete opposite, which I kind of wish I'd have kept up with more. But my advice wasn't to kind of keep doing it. Obviously, walk about and whatever. But they said the chemo will affect you that much, you won't want to do anything. And I think they put that in my head before I'd even had anything, which was a wrong approach, realistically.
And I think that's very much been the advice for up until maybe like the last 2 or 3 or 4 years or something, that it's like the chemo's going to hit you really hard, just rest as much as possible. And actually now it's really great to see that approach is changing, because much more research has come out to say that the best way of improving your response to chemo and like your body's ability to cope with the chemo drugs is to be as active as possible through the treatment. And that's kind of what I did without knowing that. But I was just like, I was just in disbelief when they were like, oh, you don't need to worry about how much exercise you do and like, or what you eat. Because to me that was like someone telling, imagine that you'd ask someone like, how do you run a good half marathon? And they say, oh, it doesn't really matter if you run or not.
Yeah.
And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I know how different I feel. And we all know this, like how different we feel after we go for a run, right? You feel like a totally different person.
Yeah.
Like if you don't run for 2 weeks, you lose that muscle, you lose that fitness. Like it's really obvious. So I was like, you've got to be absolutely joking that like it doesn't matter whether I exercise or not. So I was my consultant basically, I think during my second round of chemo, came into my room, and my dad had brought in my bike on the turbo trainer, and I was pedaling it really slowly, like really, really like the easiest setting. But he sort of came in, my consultant came in, saw me pedaling the bike, and he kind of sort of white, and he was like, what is this guy doing? And then he went away and did a lot of research, and then was like, actually, this is probably going to be helping him. So as long as he can tolerate it, like keep going.
So yeah, and was it? I think it was something after like 4 bouts of chemo, you ran like a what was your half marathon time? It was like 1:20 or something.
Yeah, it was 80 minutes. I think 80 minutes and 16 seconds or 20 seconds. I can't really remember, but yeah.
And that's during treatment.
Basically, yeah. So I had
that was
4 cycles into my chemo. And I had 6 cycles in total. But basically after every round of chemo, I'd be in hospital for 3 or 4 days. I'd still feel pretty ill for another 3 or 4 days. And then I'd have about 2 weeks of feeling quite normal. So I could sort of train and do stuff in that time. So that helped me sort of keep running. But yeah, after the Bristol half marathon, I went, like, immediately afterwards. I went into the hospital to get blood tests done, because before each round of chemo, they do blood tests to make sure you're like fit enough and well enough to start the next round of chemotherapy.
Absolutely mental.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm okay for this next round.
Gosh, it's crazy.
Insane that, because like let's say 122, a normal person is unbelievable, isn't it? Especially during chemotherapy as well. every credit to you. And I just like the fact that it's quite good, and the people that are listening and people that might be going through it, the fact that you can exercise, even if someone tells you can't, as long as you're within your limits, but you can still carry on doing what you want to do and kind of keep making progress with it.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely spot on there, Carl, that like a couple of things. One, like within your limits, like, and I think the second thing is like, you it doesn't need to be crazy, right? Like going for like a walk up and down the corridor a few times is better than nothing. Yeah. Or like just doing some really, really easy mobility exercise, walking. It's not about doing a half marathon halfway through your chemo. That is not what it's about.
It's now
about being as active as you can be, whatever your starting point is, because that's still going to help you through what you're going through. And I think like it can be easy to misinterpret like what you should be doing, and it's like just be as active as you can. And if it starts feeling like too much, then turn it back. Because there were times when I did too much, and then I was like, I'm really, like I'm beyond tired. And then, you learn by doing too much.
Worked out all right though, doesn't it?
It just makes me think that you were quite lazy now during your trip.
Oh, I was lazy. I got really fat on that. So you don't want to see my diet. If I could list my diet now, what I used to eat, it's just an excuse to be fat for a bit. In the nicest way possible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he made the most of it.
Still same now, aren't
I? And I guess as well, from all that, did that drive you forward onto, you had this dream to be, an athlete full time? It did that. Obviously, a lot of people go through difficult times, but you obviously have had quite difficult time compared to others. So did that sort of drive you on a little bit more, or was it always there?
Yeah, I think what it enabled me to do was dare to do something that had a high risk of failure and not care, I suppose. Yeah. So that's what it was with the cycle ride to Beijing. Like, I didn't expect to finish it because I thought the cancer would come back and kill me, basically. But I was like, that's the final thing I want to do with my life. I think this is the most important thing, the most interesting thing for me to do. This is what I'm most excited by, so I'm going to do it. And then I got to the point of, having finished that cycle ride, I was like, well, what do I want to do now with my life? Like, high on my list of priorities is not, doing a 9 to 5 and filling out a spreadsheet. It's like, what do I really want to do? Okay, I want to be a professional athlete. That would be awesome. Well, it wasn't even that simple. I started doing some races, and then I was like, oh, I can actually do this quite well. And then I started thinking about what would it look like to be professional. But for a long time, I was doing tutoring online, I was making the film, I was writing a book, and then I was running. So I was like blending all these things together. So it wasn't like as straightforward as I wanted to be a professional athlete, but it was like very much like, this is something I'm really passionate about, and I kind of want to give it the best possible shot of succeeding. But I think if I hadn't had cancer, it just wouldn't have occurred to me to sort of go so hard into it. I think I would be much more like conservative of like, I need a steady job and to do the sensible thing in my life.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because people just exist, don't they? I guess without knowing that actually it could all be over at any time. So it's a good lesson, I suppose, isn't it? To, if you care that much about something and want to do something that much, then why not go for it?
Because I think a lot of people, and I'm probably guilty of it, you need a life changing scenario to go and do something that you originally wanted to do. You just didn't kind of have I don't want to say the balls to do it. You just didn't find whatever it was, the courage or whatever it might be, to actually go and do it. Where you've just got to a point where you've like gone, do you know what? I have literally nothing to lose here. Let's go for it. Which is great. It's a great attitude to have.
I think it is. I think it is a good attitude. But I think that, I didn't have that attitude before I had cancer.
Yep.
And I think it's, as you said, like, it's something I thought about a lot. How do you get to that attitude without that huge life-changing event, you know? And like, is it possible? And for the people who I meet who are really like pursuing their dreams, whatever they are, who haven't had those kind of huge events, I'm massively in awe of them.
Yeah,
they've just gone and done it out of their own choice and not saying forced into it, but like I say, having a scenario there. But either way, you did it and you're still living it, aren't you? So
and I guess talk us through that a bit then, because obviously there's a lot to do to get to where you are now. It's a lot of work, and you know it probably looks different for every athlete that gets into it. What was your sort of journey look like?
I mean, I think, when I look back at it, I would say, it's a journey that really started when I was probably 5 years old, and like when I was orienteering with my family. And actually, I was only professional after 25 years of running, and it wasn't a journey that I set out to become professional. It was a journey of like, I fell in love with running. I kept running because I loved it. And then I kind of found some like races that really suited me, I suppose. And so it sort of kind of went that way round.
What sort of races took your fancy when you got into it? Because obviously you cross country at school, and then you started to notice that you could do a lot of distances, can't you?
Yeah, so I think after the big cycle ride, I was a bit lost. I'd sort of, I'd achieved my big dream of cycling China. I was a bit like casting around, and I was, it was sort of a little bit of a difficult time. And I'd agreed with a friend who was living in America to meet kind of halfway in Ireland to do a race there, like Eco Trail Wicklow. And I signed up for the 80k race, and I was on the start line. I was like, my goodness, I can't believe I've done this. Like 80k seems like such a long way. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I just had some like flapjacks that I'd made myself a couple of nights before. That was my race bag. I think my energy drink was like some squash mixed with some coffee. So I was like, I need the caffeine. I need some sugar. I'll just chuck it together. And this was in the September 2022, so it wasn't that long ago. Like there definitely was sports science out there. About it.
Coffee and Robinsons mixed in.
I remember on the start line, the commentator was like, I think there's like a world record holder here, someone who's got the record for Everesting in 24 hours or something. And I think he's talking about Ricky Wynn, the fantastic Irish trail runner. And so he was doing that race, and I was like on the start line thinking, my goodness, how am I, there's some serious people here. And then we just started, and I was like, I love this, let's go full gas. So, we were like 10k in, and I was like, I was probably treating it as like a half marathon still. And I was like, right, let's absolutely go. And I was just loving running up these hills, and it was this beautiful green, just like hillsides going up and down. And by about 40k, I was pretty knackered. And so I just had to sort of hold on for the last 40k. But I kind of ended up winning that race by about an hour. And that was really the beginning of being like, oh, maybe I could be quite good at this.
Yeah, if you're just rocking up and just enjoying it and winning it, And I'm guessing there was some other great athletes in there as well that you've absolutely spanked by an hour.
I mean, I think I look back at that race and, I compare it to the races I'm doing now, and I realise, it's not of the same depth and competitiveness as... the UTMB World Series, or certainly like CCC or something, but like there were some good people there as well. Yeah, the good local lads that are there. Like you said, with the races now, over the past since 2022, over the past 4 years, it's grown massively, and the competitiveness out there is insane, really. But that's great for you, and like I say, where you are now, it's always going to get you and make you a better athlete.
Mm. So beyond that win, Luke, was it more then, because obviously you've done a lot of UTMB qualification races. Your ranking is 125th. I hope I get that right. Top 1% UTMB.
Doesn't know.
Don't even know your rankings. Outrageous.
No idea.
No got time for them
I know
figures.
what my index is, but I have no idea about the ranking. So yeah.
Well, either way, it's incredible. So when did the sort of UTMB journey start happening? Is that something that you took quite serious at the start? Because obviously you've done CCC a few times.
Yeah, so I think after doing this Eco Trail Wicklow race in 2022, that was end of September. So like that was kind of already the end of the season. But then I thought, okay, 2023, I want to see what I can do. You know, like, am I good enough to be a professional, like one of the top guys in the UK, and you know, hopefully later, you know, on a larger stage. And so I had no idea, you know, I didn't have any idea of like Golden Trail, UTMB, Sky Running, and I kind of just sort of entered all the races that I could. So I did like some of the Golden Trail National Series. My first UTMB event was the UTMB Istria, the 100k there, and I had an absolute mare. I had a pair of fell running shoes because that's what I'd done my other races in. Like a really thin pair of Innovates, and the soles were so thin, and then one of the lugs was really digging into my foot, and I got to about 50k into the race and I was not able to put any weight through my right foot, and the next day it had all just like bruised up, and somehow the lug had just been like pushing in the wrong way, and you know, so like my first UTMB race was the DNF, which I think is that was a good starting point because it told me to sort of respect the races, and I couldn't just rock up and win stuff like I'd done in Eco Trail, Wicklow and some other races. You know, it was like, oh, you need to take this seriously, you need to be thinking about your equipment, the amount that you're eating, like how many gels. I had no idea about like how many gels you should be having an hour or anything. I was just like, just eyeballing it. I was like, this seems like a good handful of gels. This will probably do me 100k.
It's such a common learning curve, that, isn't it? Like we said this with us when we got into trail running. We were just like, biscuit every 20 minutes or every half an hour should do you right. Well, what about what's a carb? I don't even know what a carb is. Do you know what I mean? It's hilarious, isn't it? When you look back, I guess how like clueless you sort of are you get into it.
And I quite like that you've been like that as well. Basically, just been like a normal amateur runner, obviously a little bit better. Just blagging it, just blagging your way around some 100k trails, you know, especially in the thin Innovate trainers as well. You know.
Yeah, and then it was very much like that. And even so, my first UTMB race I won, which was the UTMB Mozart 100, which was like a couple of months later. I'd got a pair of thicker shoes, so I'd learned from the Innovates. I still hadn't really got the carbs thing. I hadn't worked that out at all, and I didn't even realize like some gels would have more carbs than others and stuff. And so at the back end of that race, I'd just sort of like run out of gels and stuff. So I was just like at the aid stations, I was just like drinking the Red Bull because I was like, this is, there's gonna be some sugar here. I probably need the caffeine and taurine to get me through. And I look back at it now and I'm like, how did I do that? Like I was like running on 20 grams of carbs an hour or something. Like,
yeah, that's mental.
Wow.
That's mental.
To be fair, you're running half marathons during chemotherapy, so your body's pretty much adapted to just whatever it throws at you.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I feel like you've got a really good ability to suffer, haven't you? That's what you kind of need, don't you? In like these big events and stuff, and maybe that has stemmed from your past, or have you always sort of had that resilience in you when you've been running?
I think I've always enjoyed the long distance stuff, even from like a much younger age. So I always felt like long distance was going to be the stuff I was good at, because I'm not very good at going fast, but like I can suffer. But I think one of the things that, having kind of been through what I've been through, is like when it's tough in a race, I'm literally like, back in 2018, I would have given anything to be alive today, or compare this to being on like chemo drugs. you know, like this is only going to last for like a few hours, this pain. But whereas before I was in a situation where like it was days, and it was like, you know, my life was on the line. I'm like, this isn't that bad. You know, it's a few hours of suffering, you know, and even if it's like another 7 hours of suffering, like, hey, it's not that much. You know, you got 364 days of the year, you know, in which to recover. So like you can suffer for 7 hours like once a year or something. It's okay.
So does that form a lot of your self-talk then? Is that what you sort of do when you're in these tough races?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, it depends. That's one of the things. Yeah, but I think when it can be tough. Yeah.
My advice to you is make sure that sticks with you, because like I think over probably some of the years when I've been running that, you kind of lose track of that in the sense of the motivation for doing it, and obviously it's still quite fresh for you and everything. So over the next decade or so, just make sure that when you are at that point where you kind of forget about it, just make sure you go back to it, because it does keep driving you on. So that's my advice from an amateur runner to you, the professional runner.
No, I think that's really true, Carl, and it's something I'm aware of, that like it does lessen a bit, and you have to work harder to keep that intensity and that visceralness like of it.
Yeah.
Because like initially, like it is, you know, that's what your day-to-day reality is. Like, oh, I might die within 3 months. Like, of course I'm going to push as if it's my last race, because it might be my last race. But it's more difficult to race like that and to believe that as time passes. But I think it's still really important to keep on coming back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also good that you're not dying as well. So there's a bit of both.
I mean, that is one positive thing.
That's the plus. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it forms part of who you are, isn't it? You know, like it's part of you, isn't it? Like your background and your history in it. So it's.
I didn't know I had cancer. Just so you know.
Sorry.
I didn't know you knew I had cancer. You know,
you might have mentioned it a few times.
We only mention it every single year.
It's the anniversary. 20 years, did it? 20 years this year.
20 years this year.
Big, big.
Bring it on.
Big time.
Congrats on the anniversary.
Yeah. 100 miles to do in a couple of weeks for this lad, for his anniversary. That's what he's doing.
That is a great way of celebrating. That's very cool. That's very cool. Where's the 100 miles going to be?
Up at Lakes. It's we've done it for a few years now. Lakeland 50 and Lakeland 100. So it's starting Coniston, 105 miles, finishing Coniston pretty much. But it's going to be horrific, isn't it? But I'm glad I've kind of had a chat with you, because I can probably go on now and focus a little bit, reevaluate, and actually what I want from this race. So, because I can't do as well as what I want, injuries, etc. But there's another reason why I'm doing it. So I think you'll probably switch me on a little bit after this. So appreciate it already.
Well, it's a good question. Like, why do you do 100-mile races?
The first time I'd done it was purely because I got invited to do it, which was linked to the cancer story. And the 40-hour cut off, I did it just in less than 40 hours. And then this year I'm doing it pretty much because I've said that I'm not cutting my hair until I can get a PB. The only chance I've got this year of getting a PB is in this race. So yeah, that's it. Bit of redemption. But whether it's going to happen or not is a different story completely. I think it's going to be horrific, but we'll see, won't we, in a few weeks.
Kind of what I was asking, because like I'll come clean. You know, I've never raced 100 miles. I've never run 100 miles. Like, I think the most I've run is 120k. Like, it's a long way. That's a long time to suffer. And like, as far as I can tell, it's easiest for the elites because it's over quickest. We're lucky enough to spend a lot of our time training and optimizing performance. I'm like, we're doing it the easiest way possible, and for everyone else who is like fitting training in around jobs and family and the dog, and then it takes not like 20 hours but it takes 40 hours. Like, it is a monumental challenge, and it's also monumentally bigger. You know, all the amateurs are doing something a lot tougher than what the pros are doing. It kind of blows my mind. So I'm like, why are you doing the 100 miles? Because like, yeah, it just sounds like a hell of a lot of suffering.
Shit. It's a great question.
No comment. But you are right in the sense of, like I said, with the winners that win this mark, he's done it in like, did he go sub 19?
Yeah.
I think he went sub 19 with, so realistically that I was out on the course for double what he was. And I think we worked it out with if I set off at mile 65 and he started at 0, that race that I finished last time, he would have still beaten me, setting off 65 miles behind me, which is
scary.
It's scary, isn't it? Yeah, scary. So yeah.
Is it something you consider, Luke?
Yeah, no, it would be in future. I definitely would like to do some 100 miles at some point in a way that feels kind of right and at the right time.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a crack at Western States, but that requires me getting a golden ticket, and that is something I've done a really terrible job at over the last few years. So I think when I'm able to get a golden ticket, it might suggest that it's then the right time to have a crack at 100 miles.
Yeah.
It's a biggie, that, isn't it? It's a biggie.
You're making the steps toward you, Luke. You know, like obviously we're just talking about you getting first into your racing. So what's been your biggest learning curves? Obviously you got a coach. Was that relatively early on in your career, or?
Yeah, I've been running for about a year, like trying to, sort of like at a high level in trail before I got a coach. My first coach was David Roach, who was awesome. He taught me a huge amount. I'm like super grateful for everything he did. He gave me a way of thinking about how to train for these races, whereas before I was just a bit like, more is better, should do some hills, should do a few long runs. That was kind of my training philosophy. But then at the end of last year, I was like, I need to take steps on with my running. How do I keep on improving? And yeah, I wanted to work with someone who was just like in the same country, and I could have like a really close relationship with. And now I'm like really, really happy and like feel very honored to be working with like Lewis Moses, who's just like, yeah, absolutely fantastic coach. And I think that's been like such a huge aspect of this year of like working on descents and like trying to refine like training philosophy and having just a lot of dialogue as well of like back and forth, like trying to learn but also challenging and like each other of like how we do things. And like, so it's been a really, really really great relationship so far. And obviously Gemma has been absolutely killing it on the women's scene, so yeah, it's cool to see that as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. Some of the stuff I think what I've certainly learned a lot in the past is the coaching style. So I think initially, so I've only ever had a coach like for 2 years, but it was more, I just assumed at first they'll tell me what to do and I'll do it and that'll work. But there's so much more to it, isn't there? That actually they need to know how you feel and what you feel. And I think that's such a challenge. And have you always been quite open with that? Because I think sometimes people struggle with, well, was that a 9? Was that an 8? How do I feel out of 10? Is that something you've had to work on? Because it's just something that I've really struggled with, that.
I think like, yeah, the kind of rate of perceived exertion, like I think over time you get a bit of a feel for it. And like I still don't have any problems of saying, like I think this was a 6 or a 7, but like actually by the end it turned weirdly into an 8.5, and you're like, I'm not quite sure how that happened, but I just try and be as open and honest as possible, to be honest, and just being like, but then also, when I'm running, I'm trying to be just in tune with how I'm feeling and stuff, and I think that helps. And through experience, right, you sort of, if you start off and you think you're at a 4, and then like 10 minutes later you're at a 7, it probably wasn't a 4 to begin with. So
yeah, good point.
It is a very good point, that. Yeah. On the race side of things, is it you going, I want to do these, can you help me out? Or is it more of I tell you what's the best route for you, what the best distances for you, what's the best for you?
Yeah, so I think that's something that Lewis is really great about, is kind of like thinking like longer term planning and thinking, okay, well, I think the goals ultimately, they come from me, and I think that's right, because the motivation to train and to perform is from the athlete, and so like I think that's it ultimately, it's me putting in the time to train and then race and then push myself really hard in the races. So I need to do something I'm like excited and motivated by, and then like Lewis is like, okay, so you want to try and get to this level or do this race, okay, well, what does that look like in terms of what races we're going to do over a 2-year period or something? And then we work pretty collaboratively on this. So this year I've done a lot more shorter racing, like much more 50k, but the hope is that is going to set me up well for doing a good 100k at CCC, because I've like been working on my speed, which is something that I've not been quite as competitive at, you know, at like the 50k distance as at the 100k. So over 50k should translate into something better.
So is that the main aim then? So you've had that conversation early on with your coach, and what is it that's inspiring you at the minute, and what you're driven towards?
Yeah, trying to do well at CCC. So my first year there in 2023, I came 8th on my debut, and like had a great race, and then karma caught up with me, and then the following year I DNF'd, and then last year I didn't DNF, but I had a terrible day out, and I don't know, I finished like 60th or something. So, you know, like I feel I've got unfinished business, and it's a race I could perform well at. So it's like what actually needs to change, like what we're working on to try and like fulfill what might be my potential at that race. So right now, like CCC is the kind of the big goal for the season, and we'll see what happens.
So what's the focus then on that? Because obviously, like you said, you've had a bit of an up and down experience there then. So what is it that you're like, right, this needs to change, or I've learnt this, you know what I mean? Because you're on this sort of path now, aren't you, to, well, redemption probably.
I think what I've learned is I need to run uphill faster, run downhill faster, and then run the flats faster.
Yeah,
that's a good tactic.
Is that it?
Basically, that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Fantastic. Love it.
It's just how you get to that point, isn't it? That's the one, and how you plan everything else with it. I like that. It's good. It's good. That's what we've been aiming for years, isn't it? And
why did we think of that, man? That's
just run faster.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's simple. I don't understand why more people don't beat Inga Britson. They just need to run faster. Simple as.
Train faster, run faster. And I think the difference with the kind of the professional and the amateur world is, you were talking there about that you were planning for possibly like 2 years ahead sort of thing where you want to be. I think amateurs kind of just get stuck in, and I know I do, in terms of, well, I was going to book these races and see what happens with it. There's no structure. It's just, I'm just doing this for the sake of it. Obviously, this year there's a bit of a why to it, but there's no plan as in like, right, I'm this fit now, but what can I be in 2 years? It's more like, what can I be in 3 months? What can I be in 3 months? Where I like that structure in terms of, no, the goal isn't now, it's 2 years' time. Anything else leading up to that is a bonus if I do well, but this is the race I'm going for. Obviously, you've got the CCC coming up, but the build is longer than 3 months, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I'm learning, particularly through working with Lewis, is like part of being, one of the things I say is being like a professional about in my approach to trail running is like, I'm not racing all the races. Like I kind of want to be signing up to races like, you know, every month or every 3 weeks, and actually like holding back from that and being like, actually I'm going to choose not to race. So like, I was originally going to do like the Marathon du Mont Blanc 90k, but actually like Lewis and I chatted about it, and it's like, yeah, I could race it, and I could get round and I'd do okay, but like, is that actually going to serve the goal of doing well at CCC?
Yeah.
And like, so having the restraint and like it, like something I found difficult, because I'm like, oh, I want to do that race, you know, like, and I want to do this race, I want to do that race, but actually like racing less is, you know, to try and then prioritize a good build up and, you know, to what your goals are, I think is, yeah, that's been another sort of thing I've been working on, I suppose.
Yeah, because you've done a lot of races. When you look back at your there's a lot in there, isn't there? So
I like the fact you just gone, do you know what, I'm racing whatever I want here, and just knocked them all off, you know, like. But you'll notice a difference, like you said, with that drop off of races, because it was Keith, I think we spoke to, weren't it? And he was pretty much the same, in the sense of the recovery from doing your 90k. Like the recovery there is weeks recovering where you could be training and building up to that race. So I'm glad, it's great that you're actually learning from that, and it'd be good to see the outcome of actually sticking to that.
Yeah, it was like in my first season, because I didn't think about this, I didn't know any of this. I did 4 races back to back, each one was 2 weeks apart. So I did like the Scaffold Sky Race 42k, Mozart 100, 100k, Serpent Trail 50k. And then the fourth race was the Dolomith Sky Race, and on that race my back not literally broke, but like I finished that race with some serious problems. You know, and it's like I was a bit younger than I am now, and you know, and I was like, I had no limits. I was just like, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, and then it catches up with you. So that is the risk.
Yeah, fair play though.
Every 2 weeks as well.
Yeah, that's mental.
It's not like just marathons, is it? Either you're talking like 80Ks and whatever.
What is the ideal? Sorry, so if your coach said to you, like, this is the max you should be racing a year is this number? Is there a figure? Because I keep saying 3.
I think you're saying 3 if you want to go all of them and recover properly, and be as best as you can be. But obviously that'll
depends
vary,
on it, I guess.
Yeah.
12.
That sounds pretty reasonable if you're talking about 100k races or longer. Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the guys like, you know, Josh Wade or John Albon, right? They probably do 1 or 2 races in addition to UTMB. Yeah, you know, something like that. Yeah, but like if you're racing shorter distances, like 50k, I think you can do significantly more. So. Yeah,
it's difficult because, like you said before, the people like us that are just working and we do it as a hobby, we want to race everything because we only get, you know, a certain amount of time a year. But then, it's tough to call, isn't it? Really, I think.
And with the CCC, I get confused with how far they are in the elevation. Can you remind me what the CCC is in terms of distance, elevation? If you know it, I'm guessing you will.
It's 100k and about 6,000 meters of elevation.
Right, so you're 20,000 feet sort of thing. Yeah, it's a good distance, isn't it?
It's a beast.
Yeah.
Go on.
Because it's like CCC. It seems like UTMB, like just seems like a massive distance and everything else. CCC just sounds like, oh, it's nice and calm, nice and leisurely, everything else. And now you've just said it's 100k and 20,000 feet, and it's not like being over here. You obviously start at altitude, don't you? And the climbs are like that, and they carry on for miles and miles, don't they? Epic.
Yeah, I think it is I haven't done UTMB, but you know, running through the night is a different kettle of fish, and you know, I think it's got a reputation for a reason, and I think, you know, CCC is a great race, but it in theory should mostly be done, you know, by the evening or by the night, certainly, right? It's a one-day affair in some beautiful mountains on some often pretty runnable trails, so like it's a nice race, like it's a really good 100k race.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one I'm saving the stones for. I won't be going to 100 mile because weirdly with the running stones, I've never done 100 miles, but just by doing 100k, you can apply for the 100 miler. But that elevation just terrifies me. And like you said, through the night, not for me. Don't like that. I like to be done in the day.
For now.
Yeah, at this moment.
It'll change for both of you. I can guarantee it'll change for both of you.
Maybe.
100%.
Maybe.
100%.
Me and Luke will start like how we ended up here.
Giving it elbow.
I had a running question with you kind of did allude to it, but like you're descending. So this is something I wanted to look at a little bit more around like descents, because that's where I think a lot of people, including myself, a bit selfishly here, lose a lot of time because I'm really, really cautious on the descent. So have you got any sort of tips for runners that are trying to improve that side of the game?
Yeah, so I think, you know, descending has not been my strongest thing, and like I've definitely struggled on it. And you know, I've twisted, I don't know, my ankle how many times, you know, and that's not very fun, and then you get pretty cautious when you descend. And I think one of the things I've learned is that the way that you, like literally the way that you're moving your legs down the descent has an impact on like how likely you are to sprain your ankle. So what I mean by that is like the way I used to run down a descent was basically almost the same way that I ran on the flat. You know, so my leg is going out in front of me, my ankle is kind of in that almost like a flexed position, right? It's extended, so it's super unstable, right? Because you're kind of reaching out, and so any rock, you can tip it and, you know, and twist it. Whereas actually, like one of the biggest changes that I've been making is like trying to treat a descent, and particularly the steep ones, as like a series of steps.
Okay.
So you're kind of lowering yourself down from step to step, and you're going to be landing much more on your heel, which is a much stronger position for your ankle to be in, which then reduces your chance of like rolling it because you're in that stronger position. So like that is like a small example of trying to like really treat these descents as steps. So you almost literally think of it like, how would I run down a set of stairs? Well, like, I'm now going to try and map that same kind of motion that my legs would go onto, but on the rocks.
Love it. I think that's the thing. I can't remember what he said, but the coach I was speaking to, Dan Connolly, he'd said you want to start seeing the descents as a benefit, rather, because I think I get to a descent and think, oh no, here we go, I'm going to slow everything down here because I'm just dead cautious on him. But yeah, that sort of thing there, just a different way of thinking about them, isn't it? I guess, and I think a lot of runners struggle with that.
Did you? For me, with those thingies, I've noticed, because I'm not as fast anymore, coming down the hills, I am far more wary than what I was a few years ago. When I was, say, at my best and kind of racing against people, I had no issues in throwing myself down a hill and being confident in terms of, because I was possibly chasing someone. Where now, because I'm not really competitive with where I've been running recently, you kind of just don't think you need to do it. There's no need to throw yourself down that hill and try and catch up that guy. So you do naturally just take that slower route, and then I think it lures you into that sense of, well, I could just take my time down it now. I'll get down to the bottom and I'll make up a bit of ground up flat. And it is a mental game as well. It is. I think when you're running at your best, the downhills don't really bother you that much. I think when you drop off a bit, your speed slows down a touch. The form isn't there. The quickness of the feet isn't the same, and that's how I've noticed it. Because recently I am shocking on the hills, where and didn't used to be.
Yeah. I think there's a mixture of, like, you're talking about speed, but I think there's also, like, quad conditioning, right? So like being able to, I think for me, I'd say it comes back to technique. That like descending fast is all about technique on the descents. And if you've got that right technique, then it's going to feel safe moving faster. And you are moving more safely. You are reducing your risk of like rolling an ankle or screwing it up. But like that comes from, if your quads are strong, then you're like, the quad that is higher up the hill, let's say, so you've got one leg, you're descending, let's say your left leg is going down the hill and you're descending off your right leg, you are bending that right leg to lower your body down, so you're not jumping, you're lowering step by step by step. And that again is one of those things that, like, I think reduces the risk of it going wrong.
Yeah, it's like a mindset shift, isn't it? And that confidence then just builds, I guess, doesn't it? Because it's like when I always think like this, like, they say, if you're ever in a car crash, you need to relax yourself, because then you're a lot less stiff and tense and less chance of injury. That's how I think about the descents. I'm like, if I'm more relaxed,
some composure, some composure. If you're having that 30 second, half a second before it, relaxing.
Just relax. Simple as, isn't it? But yeah, it's a rough one.
But have you, like for you, have you practiced downhills?
Yeah, well, yeah, like, just gradually trying to get there. Yeah,
getting there with it. But I think if you looked at it now and said, right, for the next 6 months, I am going to have sessions on downhills, you look back at 6 months and you'll be a much better descender. You will be. It's always like doing anything, isn't it? If you practice at it, stick at it. Like, I don't think over the years we've gone, right, we're going to do a session downhill. Like, I don't think I ever have. I've run down a hill, but I don't think I've specifically gone, I'm doing downhill today.
Yeah.
You don't just run up here and run down it, so it's, I don't know.
Not improving. What do you think has been your biggest improvement as part of your game, Luke? Don't just say everything. I'm quicker up, I'm quicker down, I'm quicker flat.
Yeah. But I am.
I'm sure I feel it's like, it's all, it all just needs a lot of work still, to be honest. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to improve all of it, and I just feel there's still a lot of work to do. Like, I definitely have been working pretty hard on the downhills, and I'm very grateful. Like, Lewis is a very good descender, so he's been like sharing a lot of his knowledge. So I think that I'm hoping I can really, make my downhills a much stronger part of my running repertoire.
Fantastic,
perfect way. CCC, are you going for a faster time than your previous? Are you going for a better position? Like, what's the aim in terms of that? Can you release that information, or is it more of I just want a better performance, I want to be able to be strong all the way through it?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think about these things of like time or position, because like that is very, like, arguably it's quite external. Like, different things can happen. Obviously, like position depends on what everyone else does, but even time, it depends on the weather, or if like you can have a stomach problem, or a random, I don't know, a bee can fly in your mouth or something, all of this stuff. So I think, my attitude when I try and race, and I try and race well, is that I want to race hard. I want to like be aggressive and try and be in the mix. But then I also want to enjoy it as well, and like really embrace the day, and sort of, those race days are like special and precious, and they're like ones to kind of relish. And so like just kind of really relishing kind of being in that situation, and like and working and as hard as possible, and then being pretty spent at the end. That's kind of like the aim. Yes.
And then anything that comes from that, it is what it is, isn't it? It's a bonus if you end up a certain position or whatever. Yeah. Good attitude, that. Just go and smash it.
Yeah, basically, go and smash it. Try and have fun and race hard and see where it goes.
Fantastic. Luke, last question from me around the races that you have done. What are your top events, and what would you recommend? Amateurs, we only get to do a certain amount of races. What are you saying you can't miss this one?
Give me a race to go and do next year.
Ooh, okay. I'd love to give you a really rogue one that to me is such a special race, and I've done it a few years. It's actually out in Kazakhstan.
Wow.
It happens in the middle of January in Almaty, and it's a VK, or it's a V.5K. So 1,500 meters up in 6K, and it starts at 2,400 meters and it goes to 3,900 to the just beneath the Amangildi peak, and it's called the Amangildi race. And it's like you're running in snow. It's like the whole thing is snow. You're going like up this mountain, and for me it's a super special race. Like it's because it's I think it's one that people don't really know about, but there's like a really like passionate community and like very good community of like trail runners and alpinists in Kazakhstan, and to me it kind of represents all of that. So if I was going to go for like take a long distance flight somewhere, I'd say check out that race. I think it's really cool.
Love that. Although sorry, how did you discover that race?
I know, yeah. Just there, just in Kazakhstan as you are.
I spent I told you at the towards the beginning that I've been nomadic for the last few years, and basically I spent quite a lot of time in Kazakhstan, in Almaty, because it's got these amazing mountains right next to the city, so you can kind of blend city life and mountain life, and fantastic trails, fantastic mountains, and I went out to Russia initially to work on my Russian, and turns out that's a lifelong project to keep on working on my Russian. So like you can speak Russian in Kazakhstan, so it was a good place for that as well.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Just a man of many talents, aren't you? One more for me as well. Equipment wise, what you're wearing on your back as in vest wise, and what you're wearing on your feet.
Well, I probably should mention, like I'm sponsored by Brooks. There we go. Thank you, Brooks. They are making some really fantastic trail shoes. Like the Cascadia Elite is an absolutely brilliant shoe. And I'm not just saying that. That is, I love wearing that shoe. It's really stable. It's snappy. It's well cushioned. You feel really secure in it. So if you want, it's probably a little bit similar to say like a Hoka Tecton 3 or something. So like if you're after that kind of shoe, like it's a super shoe, I think it's like a really cool option to look at, and it's certainly a shoe that I just think is fantastic, and I'm now just like wearing it all the time on all my runs because I'm just like, this is a brilliant shoe. I also run a lot in the Cascadia 20. I think that's coming out about now. I think it's out now. So anyway, the Cascadia 19 and Cascadia 20 are both great shoes. So that's the shoe answer really.
Brilliant. What vest do you wear? Have you got a certain vest you wear?
I've done a bit with vests. Like Brooks don't make an official vest, so we've been sort of had a little bit of leeway to use a few different things. I'm currently using like the Wise vest, which seems to work pretty well. So that seems like a pretty good vest.
Fantastic.
Straight on Brooks.
Yeah, no, let the record show that Luke is rocking a very nice Brooks running t-shirt there as well, so he's representing.
Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, no, so I definitely, I'm yeah, I actually, the thing is, I've actually always worn Brooks, even when I was like 13 or 14, and at that point I'd get all my shoes off eBay, like second hand, because like that was a cheaper way of like, you know, getting running shoes. But for some whatever reason they just like fit in my feet, and so it was like really nice to actually then like be with a brand where you like, I've actually just worn your shoes for a decade already, or 2 decades or something, and then like, so yeah, I do really like that stuff.
Because you've definitely got it where people sign up to a brand, and like I said, you've got a shoe there or shoes you've worn for years which you know that suit you, where I'm guessing there's other people out there where you get signed up to a brand, you've got to wear equipment, but I think deep down some people just did wish were allowed to wear other trainers, which is just unfortunate. But if you're being sponsored, you've got to wear the equipment, haven't you? That's part of it.
Yeah, it should work the way that like Luke is. That's how it should work, shouldn't it? You should love the brand, and then that naturally becomes a partnership, doesn't it? I guess.
Too right.
Exactly, and I think, you know, it's always a choice as an athlete of whether you sign with any brand, you know, whether that's shoes or anything else, you know, and like you've always got that choice. So, you know. Yeah,
because you're going to have to wear them for the race. So you're going to want them.
You're going to wear them. You have to wear them, racing them. You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, you need to like them, don't you?
Yeah, because I mean, nothing worse turning up in a pair of shoes you don't like, and you know you can't perform in them the way you want to, you know. And I guess it happens. There's going to be shoes you do like, shoes you don't like, equipment you don't like. It's one of those, isn't it? But no,
partnership.
Pretty epic, and you seem all set to go and do it, don't you? So
yeah, looking forward to it, Luke. Massive thanks for dialing in, especially all the way from Chamonix. Near Chamonix. Sorry, apologies. I got the place wrong.
Not far off.
So just a little bit of French before you go. Just maybe sign us off with a bit of French.
Yeah, I wouldn't say my French is that good, but. Merci pour la podcast. C'était très bien, c'était très intéressant. Merci et au revoir.
Fantastic. You've got the accent nailed down as well, which is the most important part.
It is. Yeah, because you're Spanish, aren't you?
That's the only bit I'm good at.
Yeah.
As soon as you get me saying more than a sentence, it all falls apart. But, you know, as long as you're going to hit the merci and bonjour right, then I feel you're onto a winner.
Sounded fantastic.
It's a practice, don't it? The confidence with it, and stick at it, because I think I fascinate people that can pick up on other languages, like with you're good at Spanish, aren't you? Like it fascinates me that people can pick it up and be fluent with it. I think it's incredible, really. So
sounds good when you pick it up. Luke, merci beaucoup. Been an absolute pleasure. That my accent's not as good as yours.
Not far off, is it? By the way, when we say bye, just stay on for another minute, just so we can say bye again.
Thanks a lot, Luke.
Thanks, guys.
That's all. Thank you.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?